Thanks for tuning in. In this video, we're giving the front of the trailer a facelift. We're putting on a tongue box. We're painting the front of the trailer. We're rewiring it, and we're putting on a new breakaway system. So please stay tuned and like the video. All right, time for the next project. I wanted to put a tongue box on the front of this just for added storage. Actually, I wanted to put everything that I might need along the road, like straps or first aid kit, anything that you don't want to be going and digging through the trailer on the side of the road. Just wanted to put all that in the tongue box. When you look online, there's tons of different options. So basically what I did was I took the dimensions of the one I was looking at, and then I transferred those onto cardboard, and I was pretty close. And I think it's going to overhang about 3/4 of an inch on each side, but that's okay. Let's say you have that length and then this length. And then if you have the side length, you just keep pulling out the ruler until that side length is met, and then you have this. So as long as you have the center line, you could just keep pushing out you basically need about 3 rulers. But so part of this making everything look better project is also going to be the fenders. Got new rims and tires. Gonna change everything out to LED lights. And then this, once I cut off the chains that are on the front, I'm gonna paint everything. I have some better looking cables that I was gonna put on, but these are welded on and they're all kind of beat up, so I'm kind of thinking about just changing them out. But I gotta cut these off, and then I have some shackles to put in, and I think it's just gonna look better. And the cables are actually pretty strong too. I think that, let's see. Yeah, the cable ultimate brake strength is 7,500. This is 7,600. So, I got 2 cables, 2 chains. It should be pretty good. So I'm going to come in through here with a hand grinder, grind off this because it looks like they just welded it on there. I got a clamp holding the chain, and I'm just going to come through and hack it off, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so I'm using a C-clamp here to hold the chain as I'm cutting it off. You can also see that I have my safety sandals on. You should definitely be wearing safety glasses because the hand grinder kicks up a bunch of sparks everywhere. And I'm using a set of pliers to manipulate the chain because it is very hot. So if your trailer is like this, definitely use a lot of caution. So right here I have a hand drill with a wire wheel attachment, and we're trying to get all of the really loose paint and rust off as much as possible. So we're going to go through everything, clean everything as much as possible on the outside. So right here I need to start taking off all of the breakaway system, the battery, and the actual breakaway module because it's in the way, and I want to clean underneath it, and I'm going to mount that breakaway module underneath. Here I'm looking at the rat's nest of wires that I'm going to have to figure out. So there's a hole where the breakaway was screwed in at, and I was filling that up with some of the construction adhesive. Here I just clean off the excess on the outside, and now it's just the hole itself that has the construction adhesive in it. And I'm taping up the VIN plate of the trailer because I'm not going to paint over that. All right, so right here we're putting a 2x3 underneath the tongue of the trailer so that we can take off the actual trailer jack and sand underneath it. And you can see right when we get it off that there's a bunch of rust underneath this, so definitely would have been nagging if we would have left that. So you look at all that rust. So definitely happy we're doing that. Gonna hit it with the wire wheel here, get a bunch of the surface rust off. So now we're wiping down the whole tongue of the trailer with alcohol just to get all the loose particles off, clean it as much as possible before we start to even think about painting it. You want to make sure it's as clean as possible. Now we're taping off the front of the trailer because I definitely don't want any overspray on the front of the trailer. All right, got it mostly taped off, and I took out the tongue jack. We have a different one for it because the box comes out so far. So ones that twist like this aren't going to work. So this one twists like this in the front. Well, you'll see it. But actually, I'm probably going to tape off those threads right there because I don't want to get a bunch of paint in the threads. I'm going to douse it with some Rust-Oleum primer first. And then I got 2 cans of Rust-Oleum truck bed coating. So we're going to see how that looks on here. It's supposed to be pretty durable. So Both of these are stop rust, so we'll see how well that works. A few of the tricky points are going to be this, trying to prop that up, keep it up, but just going to have to do the best we can do with it. But yeah, probably have my wife over here blocking certain parts with cardboard and stuff, but I'm pretty ready. This masking tape is giving me a bunch of trouble, though. I don't understand. It's like the worst masking tape ever. All right, on to painting. All right, so right here, I'm putting a light to heavy coat of the primer. My wife is standing, holding up that box because the wind's sort of blowing that way, and I didn't want it to coat any of that. You can kind of see the spray just getting pulled towards her. So now I'm putting a little bit heavier of a coat. It seems to be going on well. It's not running at all. Inside that cavity underneath or in front of where the trailer jack is at, I'm really coating it in there because I didn't have the ability to really sand in there that much. All right, so now we're applying the truck bed coating, and we're just taking it easy with this. It seems to be going on kind of heavy because of the way it sprays. So we're just probably going to put a few coats of that and call this whole part good. All right, I think I already said that the jack came a little scratched up, so there were some parts that were raw metal, so we coated those in primer, and then we're coating the whole thing in the same truck bed coating that we painted on everything else. We taped up everything, taped up the handle, the whole mechanism. All right, we're on to the part of putting on the new jack stand. So you can see that this tongue jack, you go from like this, where this one you go on the top of it. This is going to hit the tongue box. So going with this one also is taller, and it extends longer. So I'm excited about that. We did paint it. There was a few scratches from shipping, so we decided to paint it anyways. I was gonna work on the fenders, but jacking up the one side of the trailer while it's precariously placed on a board, no. Also, I got this, which is super cool. Look how big those wheels are. I think they're 4 or 5 inch wheels. Replacing, instead of this is a furniture dolly that I modified with 2x3s, and then like I think it's like a 4x6 or something that came with the trailer, just so it could be on there, because it has to be jacked up so high to get onto the Tahoe. So I'm really excited about putting all this on here, not to mention it's gonna look a lot better. We're going to try to put this on without destroying the paint. It is dry-ish. It's a little tacky. I'm gonna see if I can't thread the needle with this going on there. Okay. The other cool thing is, now that it's on there, all of the paint is gonna like seal it up, and that thing's never gonna move, like, ever. Also, I got some pretty sweet socket head cap screw stainless bolts that I'm replacing the old nasty ones with, and these ones, oh, look at them. I told my wife these are they're more expensive, but they're gonna make me happy every time I look at it. So then she was okay with it. All right, so I got a socket with a really long extension on. I'm gonna just snug everything up real quick before I start really going crazy. You could go with chrome bolts, and I saw chrome bolts there, but I wanted something that was low to no maintenance, and you can't get low to no maintenance without, stainless. Basically, is the way you want to go. Chrome, you always got to be buffing it and polishing it. All right, now I can start to really torque these down a little bit. I can see the trailer swaying on that board, which is real fun. So now we're lowering that down. Put a bunch of tape on the rod. I didn't want to paint the part that's going inside of the other part, so we taped all that off. All right, so this has a hole. Basically, you're going to line up the hole, and then you're going to want this towards the back to fit into that groove. So that's going to go up there. All right, so now we're going to tighten that down. Okay, now we're just going to keep lowering it. I'm already really excited about this because this can actually reach the ground where the other one couldn't. There we are. We are on the ground. There we go. Look at that. Okay, we're lowering it down now. So I will snug up this bolt right here. Probably the wheels themselves it'll just live inside of the tongue box. And then that way, if we're ever anywhere, we can always just put that on if we want to disconnect it. But otherwise, it'll be a ton more ground clearance. Both of these retract up to the same height, so I'm pretty excited about that. All right, that part is done. I think we're going to wait for this to cure up for the next day or two, and then I'm gonna redo the wiring. I'm pretty sure I'm eliminating that battery because that was for the breakaway, which we're not using. And then I got some stainless shackles that are gonna go into some cables. All around a much cleaner look. Yeah, so we'll bring you back in for that, but that is it for today. We're just gonna let this part cure up. Time for the wiring. So here's all the old wiring, including the old trailer breakaway. It's rusted, and then the spot that actually hooks onto the car, there's a break right there, then massive break right there. So I was gonna completely just do away with it, but then I heard that some states have, you know, some laws or whatnot. So I actually found a better one by Bunker Industries. It's pretty cool. You can test it, and it actually charges from your vehicle, the battery in here. Probably gonna mount this below flush as far forward as I can, so that when the box is on, I could still look and see and press the test light. I could put it on the outside, but I kind of want a cleaner look. And then all of this is just kind of a, you know, this is a bit of a rat's nest. And so I found a much better option. So still the same 7-pin, right? Thicker cable, I believe. But then everything goes into this box. So you got two spots right here that can go in and one on the bottom, but everything is just so well put out. So not only is there blue, or the colors on the top of the threads, but it's also labeled down in the plastic as well. What I'm thinking about doing is putting this right about there, because this is an 8-foot cable, and all of this can just easily pop through one of these. So I'm thinking about just having everything come in through here, lock in, having that like right about there, and it'll be below flush from the box we're putting on top. And I kind of liking this idea better. So I think that that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to install this, and then I'm going to install the battery pack right here, and then the actual breakaway part, I'm going to install that probably underneath right here. I actually have a different cable than this one. This one's cool and everything, but I found this other one that I like a little better, and it comes with a carabiner, and it's curled up so that it's not going to be dangling everywhere like this one would be and dragging on the road. But so yeah, so that's what I'm going to do now, and anything comes up, I'll stop the time lapse. All right, so right here I'm just double checking that I'm putting this in the exact right spot. I'm marking the holes. I'm drilling them out before I send in the self-drilling, self-tapping screws. This is a little bit thicker of a metal, so it helps if you have like a small pilot hole, unless you want to be sitting there pushing forever on your drill. So just making sure it's all nice and level, and as it goes in, I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, so now we're mounting up the actual battery box, and those wood clamps are coming in very handy again. I'm only able to mount on the top 2 screws because the frame rail's nowhere near big enough to mount on the box on all 4 of these mounts that the box has. So just mounting on the top 2, it's on there pretty tight, so it seems fine. But just take your time and make sure everything is exactly where you want it, so you're not drilling a bunch of holes in your trailer. All right, got everything nice and mounted. Pre-drilled the holes, but then still used the self-drilling and tapping screws. I believe I used 1/4 inch on this guy, And then this one, since they're so deep and long, I use the same 3-inch 5/16 that I use for the solar panels on the top. And then down here, that's where I screwed in the breakaway. So it's kind of cool because it's like it'll be aiming directly at the car. Here's the hook for it. So I'm using this one instead of the other one. Basically still works the same. You just got to really jerk on it, then it comes out. I also lowered these down because obviously the box is going to be on top of these, but I have plenty of room to curl this around and have it sitting on top, and then there's already a hole right here for a wire clamp that we'll be putting whatever feels right, maybe that way or this way. But now we're going to get on to all of the wiring, which is this rat's nest, and just slowly walk through it and just do one by one. And then we'll probably do this first and then worry about the braking system with the battery and all that. So we'll do that second. This will probably be pretty easy compared to that, but that's where we're going to start. All right, so right here I'm trying to figure out what all the wires are and where do they actually go. A lot of the wires do match up with the colors that are in the box, but some of them don't. I'm also having to extend some of the wires because they were a little bit short for this box, but that's not really that big of a deal. So I'm just taking it one at a time. It might seem overwhelming, just take it one wire at a time. You can also use a 12-volt power source like a battery charger to actually start running through to see if these, if you're plugging them into the right spots. But just take your time and this part should go pretty easy. All right, so now I'm wiring in the breakaway system. I'm putting a lot of heat shrink since it's on the bottom part of the trailer and inevitably going to be getting hit with a lot of dirt and trash and water. So I'm putting a lot of heat shrink on these wires to make them just a little bit more robust and wiring everything together. This part goes pretty smoothly compared to the other. So there's 2 entries on into this junction box. I'm using the bottom one for all the breakaway, and I have the heat shrink going into it. So I'm pretty happy with the way this one turned out. It's all wired up, and I still need to tighten down these strain relays, but I'm just trying to make sure everything's wired correctly. So I have these leads hooked to just a battery charger, the positive and the negative, and it says it's charging. So that's what I was looking for. Let me unhook this and I'll show you underneath. I put heat shrink on the wires coming out of the battery box and out of the switch, and then heat shrink everything together, and then that goes around because I was worried about the just rocks hitting it and stuff. This guy I was actually able to shove heat shrink up in there and then heat shrink it to it. Wiring is not too bad, although these instructions leave a little bit to be desired. The white, you're basically hooking the negative to the white, and then you're hooking the positive to the black, but right there it says 12 volt or 12 negative volt is to the black, which when you look at this, that's not how this is wired. Anyway, so I was able to hook up the negative and then run through testing all the lights. Some of the lights are not working, some of them are working, but I'll probably pop them off, hook a voltmeter to them and see if they're working. But so I got the heat shrink going into here, and then I will clamp this down, and we're pretty close to being ready for putting that strain relief right here and then the box on top. All right, so right here I decided I'd rather keep this wired longer because I'm not necessarily always going to be towing this trailer with our Tahoe, maybe a truck, maybe something else. So I just wanted options for the future instead of cutting off all that wire now. I'm sure you probably don't need it as long as me, but it wasn't going to hurt anything, and I was able to tie wrap it into the trailer rail so it stays out of the way and just gives me another option for the future. So I'm at the point now where I'm going to put on the tongue box, mark it out so that I can pre-drill the holes in the tongue box and then transfer those holes to this, and I'll be using the same 3-inch by 5/16 lag bolts that I had for the solar panels for the roof. I just have some extra ones. This cord, the 7-pin connector, it's actually 8 feet long. So I just routed it that way, just in case for some reason in the future if I need that extra long. You can just trim it and redo all the connections. Also, I may pull it back more in case this is too long. Some people just wrap it around this a few times. I kind of don't want to do that because I don't know, I like looking at these stainless socket head cap screws. The only thing I feel like I could have done maybe a little bit better is heat shrinked everything coming out of the frame rail. That might have been like a bit of a cleaner look. Also, this lid only goes on one way. These are actually slightly differently spaced, those screws. So in case you're having trouble putting it on, it only goes on one way. Try it the other way if you're having trouble. So now I'm gonna put on the box. I'm gonna get underneath because it does overhang slightly. I'm gonna make sure that my overhangs are the same on both. And then probably what I'm gonna do is put masking tape underneath it, showing that this is the edge. And then I'll flip it over, mark out where the holes are gonna be. There's no like perfect answer for the holes. I'm pretty much just gonna put 4. 1 here, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. I probably will put some of that construction adhesive underneath it, just as like a weather sealing and just like an added layer of protection. That's the next step. Right, so this part's pretty straightforward. Just set your box on there very gently, and then I'm gonna measure on both sides and just keep splitting the difference till it's completely even on both sides, and then I'm gonna set the masking tape on there as it's the edge of the trailer. So then I know where to drill the holes. Okay, I got her all lined up. You notice that it's further away from here, touches in the center, same distance there. So basically down here, what I did was I just put masking tape right around where I'm gonna put the hole. So that way I know the edge of this is the start of the frame rail. So it looks like I can measure over about an inch and a quarter, and I'll be dead center into it. So I'll probably measure down from the top and then over from there about an inch and a quarter. Same with there, and then I did the same to the other side. Now I'm basically going to take it off, set it on its lid, probably put some cardboard down, and then mark out the holes, drill the holes, and then put it back on here, line it back up to everything, leave the masking tape on because that'll give me my width gap on both sides, and then I'll mark out the holes for the bolts, center punch them, pre-drill them, and then run in the big lags. Somewhere in there I will put some construction adhesive down here, because you got to imagine that this is right after the vehicle. Rain's going to be coming up from the tires and all that, so like it's going to be banging in here, and I really don't want it to get to where the bolt's at and then work its way down into the frame rail. It's just going to cause this whole thing to rust a lot faster. So it's not going to cost that much. It's a preventative measure. I'm sure you can put silicone or whatever else you have. I have construction adhesive, so I'm just going to use that, and I've had pretty good luck with it. So just make sure you keep measuring and double check your measurements so that you're drilling in the right spot. No need to have extra holes everywhere. I'm pretty confident with where these holes are going to be. 4 holes, 1 on each corner, should be enough to mount this. So we're just center punching them out, and then we're going to drill these. These will be clearance holes for the self-tapping screw stuff. All right, so now we set it on and we're test fitting it, making sure it's completely lined up, and then we're going to open it up, and then we're going to mark on the trailer where these holes are at, so then we can pre-drill the trailer. All right, so now we're just pre-drilling the trailer. All right, so I'm running the self-tapping screws in. Just a lot easier, a lot more clearance. They all fit and work fine, and we're happy that everything looks good from there. So now we're going to get out the construction adhesive and start running them in. There's one final check right here. Everything is definitely all lined up, and now we're going to get the construction adhesive out and put the tongue box on. You see me really caking it up around the holes because I want to make sure it has a good seal around those and we're not leaking water into the frame rails. All right, we set it on nice and easy, and now we're just got to run the screws in. All right, so now we're finally putting on the cables. I got these stainless steel shackles that I'm putting a red Loctite on, so I don't have to worry about these unscrewing themselves.
This adds just a much better look to the whole front of the trailer. It looks a little bit more custom, a little bit more high-end than rusty chains banging everywhere. And these cables are plenty strong enough to drag this trailer along if it falls off my vehicle.
I am very, very excited about how this looks. Everything has like a really clean look. These are the Kurt cables, pretty sweet looking. These are some stainless steel shackles. I put some red Loctite on there. This is the package from the Kurt, but as always, I'll have the link to everything in the description. I'm pretty just excited by how everything looks. So the tongue box I went to, I'll have a link in the description. It was basically just measuring, so it sticks over about 3/4 of an inch on each side. There was other ones that were a lot shorter, so I went with this one. That little bit of overhang is not that big of a deal. The only thing I had to do when I first got it was I adjusted, I guess it's the latch right here, because when it closed, it had a little bit of play. But I'll show you the inside. So there's where the lag bolts are. Everything looks, nice and spaced out. The bolt over there, I'm kind of losing my finger. There it is. Okay, so that bolt over there, I actually cut it down to probably about 3/4 of an inch, where everything else is 3 inch. The reason I cut it down is because the wire goes into this frame rail, and I didn't want that bolt coming anywhere near it. So not only did I chop it down with a hand grinder, but I rounded the end of it. Let me see if I can't get you guys in to see everything on the bottom here. So I think everything looks pretty good, nice and tidy. Got that extra length of the 7-pin connector. So pretty excited about all that. Right here, my hand can still reach through and hit the, let's get you right there, the tester. And then when you hook that up, you can see it charging still. So when I'm standing here, outside the trailer, I can still look in there, see the indicator lights. It's exactly what I wanted. Yeah, so I'm gonna have a bunch of stuff I don't wanna have to go digging through the trailer for if I'm on the side of the road. So there's gonna be rope, ratchet straps, first aid kit, a jack, all kinds of stuff like that. Stuff that is only gonna be in here and it's easily accessible. Tie wraps, maybe duct tape, everything I would need to try to fix something. Tools, it's all gonna live in here just to make my life easier in case there's a huge problem with something. I'll also have in the description these alligator clips, because these were very easy to just clip onto the studs inside that wiring box, and then I just ran them to like a Craftsman battery charger and just had it at 2 amps. That way I was testing all the wiring and the lights and everything as I was going, because on the trailer itself there was 2 black wires. I was able to decipher one of them is the black wire for the auxiliary positive, and then the other one was for the brakes. But ultimately the true test for this whole thing is to hook it up to the vehicle and then run through the brakes, the right blinker, left blinker, hazards, the whole works. That'll be the true test. No, I'm really happy with the whole look of everything. It just looks so much better now. So I'm really, 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 really excited about this.
Thanks for watching. In the next video, we're continuing the facelift for the trailer. We're replacing the fenders and the wheels, and we're painting the brakes, and then we're going through all the lights and changing them over to LED. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. That really helps us out.